Alice Baumgartner was born on February 28, 1944, to Lucy Daly and Fred Martinelli. She grew up on Edgewood Street in Philadelphia. When she was 7, Alice went to St. Cyril's as her elementary school. She was 15 when she went to Archbishop Prendergast High School. She had gotten married to John Baumgartner, my grandfather, on February 8, 1964, at the age of 19. By the age of 21, she had had her first child by the name of Regina, who was my mother. Alice was 25 when the moon landing occurred, and she remembers quite a lot about it. The moon landing occurred on July 16, 1969. The Eagle, otherwise known as Apollo 11 lunar module, was a spacecraft used in the first moon landing, which was Apollo 11. The Eagle was the first spacecraft to land on the moon that contained astronauts inside. Neil Armstrong was an American astronaut, and he was born on August 5, 1930. Buzz Aldrin was an American engineer and an American astronaut. He was born on January 20, 1930. Michael Collins was an American astronaut and pilot. He was born on October 31, 1930. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were all a part of Apollo 11 and the first men to walk on the moon. Alice said that at first she thought the moon landing would be possible, and that the United States could do anything they set their mind to. In reference to this, Alice said, "When the speech was made, I didn't expect that man walking on the moon would be so soon, but I knew that the U.S. landing on the moon had a great possibility." Alice also had expected the moon landing to launch before the end of the decade, just as JFK had stated in his speech. The video I'm including next is a short clip from the moon landing.
That isn't collapsed too far, but it's adequate to get back up. Roger, we copy. It's a pretty good little jump. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Neil, we can see you coming. Okay, I just checked. Getting back up to that first step, that isn't collapsed too far, but it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In the clip that I just shared, it was Neil Armstrong stepping onto the moon for the first time. He then recited his famous quote, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
Invade your space, I'll take the pleasure, take it with the pain, and if in the moment
Alice had said that there wasn't any physical changes in society that related to the moon landing. She did, however, notice that people were more happy and excited than usual. This had lasted for days and months after the moon landing had happened. She mostly noticed a change in her family, especially because she spent the most time with them. Alice's husband and the rest of her family were watching the Eagle launch from their home on TV. When Alice saw that the moon landing actually had happened, she discussed it with her husband and the rest of her family. It was at 9:32 a.m. on July 16th that the Apollo 11 launched from the Kennedy Space Center. At around 12:35, with President Nixon to greet them, the Apollo mission had been completed and they had reached Earth. Alice wondered what kind of world her children would grow up in. She explained this by saying, "With all this new technology, and especially this huge event to happen, when my children were so young, I began to think what kind of world they would grow up in, and how it would affect them." What really stood out to Alice was watching the Eagle launch from the Kennedy Space Center on TV, and realizing that America had actually accomplished its goal. Alice thinks the way people think about the moon landing is different from 46 years ago when it occurred. She thinks that 46 years ago, it was all anyone could talk about, and it was such a huge deal. Now, she said, people reflect about it and learn about it, and that's okay, but it's different than how she experienced the moon landing.
Then take my breath and never let it go.
Alice would go on to have 3 more children and 7 grandchildren. She would also have her 50th anniversary to John Baumgartner.
Take it